Welcome to Appium Testing Video 6. This is Larry at larryricker.com, and I'm going to be working with the Progress Report app and building out an Appium test for this. On this video, I'm going to be building out an Org.java file, which is going to contain the domain-specific language, which will have commands that are specific to this particular app. I'm going to extend the app.java file with generic methods that are specific to Appium. And I'm also going to be just flowing through the application, clicking on buttons, entering and creating new projects, and working with the Settings tab. I've got the iPhone 5S hooked up tonight on the left, and it's displaying the Progress Report app. And because I'm using UDID set to auto, whether I have the iPhone 6 Plus plugged in or the iPhone 5, it works. Okay, so here's Appium Desktop, and in the first video we clicked on the Settings tab, so I'm going to click on the Settings tab again. Now, but this time I'm going to do it in Appium Desktop, and then I'll continue on the test after that. So this is the element that we clicked on in the test. So I go in Appium Desktop and I click on Tap, and that will go over to the Settings tab. Now that I'm on the Settings tab, I want to read some of these elements. And so let me identify some of these. So the first one up here, that appears to be, well, radar app, and then we've got by progress report. So the accessibility IDs that got associated with these are by progress report Pro 499. So it seems a bit redundant to verify the text of by progress report Pro 499 is in fact by progress report Pro 499, but by verifying the text actually matches that accessibility ID, it'll actually verify that that is on the screen and that it does in fact have that text. So it'll either fail with element not found or accessibility ID not found, or it'll fail that the text doesn't match the what I'm saying it is. So let's test that first. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go over to Eclipse, and let's go into our test, and it's right here. I'm going to expand that out to the full screen so you can see it, and then right here, so we did this setup, we clicked on the Settings tab. So here in the test, I'm going to do driver, not get driver, find elements by accessibility ID. I'll put the string in there. So we do the get text and do an equals. And it'll be equal to the same text. Now that's a condition right there, so it's going to say, okay, well, that's a condition. You can't just do a condition. So what we should do is, that'll give us a web element. We could do the web element, do the fetch of it first, assign it to a variable, and then do the comparison. So let's do that. So and they'll call this the uplift or upsell. Okay, so I'm going to set this variable, so we're going to get a web element equal to upsell. Oh, wait, a web upsell equal to. Good start, Larry. Okay, put that over there. And then we have to define the web element. Okay, getDriver.getDriver. And that throws, so we will add the throws declaration to the settings tab test. And then we will do this comparison. So if it exists, well, first we're going to kind of assert that it exists. So we'll probably have to get some of those assertions in here. We want to use okay, let's import. Here's our imports. So let's, I'm just going to reference the standard library here. .m4, I think that's what we got. So we got assert array. So here's an assert equals char expected. Now I probably want the one that assert equals with the message at the beginning. So these are assertions.assert equals. Okay. I want the one with a message as the first parameter. We'll go with string. Then we'll go right into our assert trues. Okay, so let's just do assert equals, and then the first will be the message of that we're expecting. Well, actually, no, it's the. I probably have it in the clipboard. Yes, I do. Okay. It'll be the upsell dot get text. Okay, so I'm asserting. Now I have to resolve assertions. In the Jupyter. Got to be careful with these picking off your imports. The imports, when I do those clicks there, it's in case you're not familiar with Java, it just puts these import statements in here, so it specifies what I mean by assertions. So when you're doing assertions, right, this assertions, it's referring to the library org, the actual class org.junit.jupyter.api.assertions. And since there's multiple assertions out there in the large ecosystem of possible libraries and classes for Java, you have to be specific by package which one you're referring to. And furthermore, specific by the jar. So the Gradle build file will specify the build Gradle file that will specify the actual specific jar that you're referring to, and that will dictate the behavior and the actual physical code that you're executing. So it all kind of fits together. So here we've got, I've got the text and I've compared it, and I use the assert equals, and I don't have to use this equals clause here at all. Now I could get the version number. Now let's look at some of these elements here. Go back to Appium Desktop. I want to pull out the build. No, I want to pull out this, the bundle ID. It says it's available in the app. So that is LR progress report right here. And it's available by accessibility ID. So, yeah, that's the only way to get it. So I would say let's do a find on that, and then if it exists, I'll set it equal to, I'll pull out the text of that and set it equal to current app. I could do a case statement to pull in all the possible apps. That way I can use that as conditional in the future to do switch logic in this application. So let me just grab the text of that, which is right here in Appium Desktop. Makes it easy to snag these things. I recommend always copy and paste, because you never know, you get a little random space in there or a character you don't see or two spaces and it doesn't match up, and then you're trying to debug stuff. So not good. So we're going to do a string bundle ID equals, and then I'm going to set that, actually probably gonna, well, I'm going to set it to null first, or empty string. That's a good start. And then I'm going to pull in that bundle ID text, and I could do this with a bunch of case statements, but I'm going to do it in well, I can't really do a case statement on the presence of an element existing, so I'm forced to do the if. Okay. So I'm going to do the find element by accessibility ID, and so I could get the text from that, or if it's not equal to null, then I know that it is in fact that. well, I'll set it to BI. Yeah, so it's I'm going to need a web element BI. So BI equals assignment, not comparison. And then I get this value, and well, now I need to do just a not equal null. So that should resolve get element by accessibility ID. I must have misspelled something. That's a hard word to spell. Okay. And that would make my bundle ID use that more. I want this word here though. Now, there's some refactoring I need to do right away. So as I mentioned, I'm going to build a domain-specific language. So in order to build the domain-specific language, I need to create a class, and I'm going to call it org, as in organizer. So it's going to have all the domain-specific methods for testing the org app. Then I'm going to use the app as the Appium specific. So just to give you a few examples, I'm going to first create the org. So I do that with file, new, Java class. I'll make Org.java. I could put in some generated Java doc, descendant from object, and all looks good. Package is correct. Finish. Okay, so now I've got a Java class, but there's really nothing in it. So I got to get something in there. So let's start refactoring this. First thing is I've got a nice method here that clicks on stuff. Clicks on stuff based on accessibility ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this text here, I'm going to refactor that out. So I'll do control, refactor, extract variable, and I'm going to call that using. That's good. We'll go with that. And so now I can click on this, and I'll do control, right click, refactor, extract method. Now I'm going to call this method simply click, because I'm going to do all my clicking based on accessibility IDs, unless I'm just going to do them all on accessibility IDs. So now I've got a new method here called click. Now the only thing wrong with this is it's not public and it's not static. So I'm going to change it to public, and I'm going to make it static. Okay. Now it can still be accessed there, but this is nice because now this is going to be my first piece of my domain-specific language for interacting with Appium. So I'm going to refactor move this. So I'm going to refactor move, and I'm going to send this over to my app class. So I do browse, type in app, it locates it, I click on it, click OK, and then that moves that method out. It's not here anymore, but it's in app. So now if I control click on it, now let's try, maybe things are a little different. Okay, so here it is. It's now in the app Java class, and that's my first domain-specific Appium type of functions. Now I don't like to get too far along without getting some documentation on this. So I do some insertion of the Java doc, and this will do. Click on accessibility element with accessibility ID. Now that's an advantage because now in my method, when I go to click on my next thing, I can look at the docs. I'll show you that. It'll start showing up. Now, the next thing I've got here is find. I'm going to just create a thing that finds stuff. So, and it's going to return a web element. So in order to do that, I'm going to take this out here, and I'm going to right click on that, refactor, extract local variable, and I'll call it using. Okay, good. So now I can take this portion right here and control, right click, refactor, extract method, and I'm going to call this one find. And it's going to be a method, it returns a web element, and it uses a using. So find is now defined. Okay, now I want to move find out of here, so let's take find. First I'll make it public and static. And then I will control click on that, refactor, and I'm going to move it. And I'm going to send it to the same place, app. So let's go over to app and visit find. And find will be right down here. And then I just add a little Java doc on that one. And it'll find web element by accessibility ID. This will be good for you people that don't like to type a lot too. Okay, so now we got a find function. Now, I only needed that using for the first time I created that method, so I can put that back in here and delete this line. And that's a Command D to delete the line. And same thing up here, I can pull this variable out, put it back in here, and just do a Command D on this line and delete that. Okay, so now let's start building the domain-specific language which is specific to this application. So I'm going to right-click on this, refactor, extract method, and I'm going to call this settings tab. I could say go to settings tab, or I could call it settings tab. And I'm going to call it go to settings tab. Puts a little verb in there. That may violate somebody's ideology or something, but oh well. So I'm going to make that private. Please send your comments in below in the YouTube video, and I'll listen to your opinions. So I'm going to refactor this, move this. Now I'm going to move this out, not to app. This one is org. So that's going to go into that Java class. Now, okay, visibility will be changed to package. Okay. So now we've got org.go to settings tab. Let's go over and check that out, see how that came out. Static void, clicks on the tab. Seems pretty good. And then what we'll do is just add a little Java doc on that. Clicks on settings button at the bottom of the page. Now I could make that the settings button at the bottom of the page, but I know for a fact, because I'm familiar with the app, that there's a settings button at the bottom of the projects tab and at the settings tab. I'm sorry, the status report tab. So, or I keep calling them tabs. Whenever I'm referring to tabs, I'm talking about views, but not views, table views. So these are specifically table views if you want to get right down to the iOS implementation. But anyhow, so that's going to click on the settings button. So when I get over to the status report page, that method will probably work just fine. If it doesn't, hey, we'll deal with it. Okay. So, so now my decision to put that in org and the other one to go in app is based on whether it's reusable. Org.settings tab is not going to be reusable in your app because you don't have a settings tab. Actually, I call it tab. Yeah, it's really a view and it's a separate segue. Yeah, it's kind of not a tab. It's not a tab, it's a view. So let's refactor it. So now you can go and rename everywhere you have stuff, and that's a pain in the neck and very error prone. But Eclipse has a better way. You can right click, refactor, rename, and instead of calling it Go to Settings tab, I'll call it Go to Settings View. Yeah, but it's a table view. And now that will rename everywhere that's used. So if I had 1,000 Java classes in this project, it would go through all of them and rename them. Obviously, there's only one usage of it right here at this time, so it did it. It fixed it. So it's the better way to do stuff. Okay, now I've got my find, and then I've got assert equal. Now I got my using here. That's not right. So I could do my upsell, get text. Now I'll get the text and do that comparison. Not sure which refactor messed that one up, but it's all good. Okay, so I did my first assertion. Now, the bundle ID, and then I do this conditional. If that's not equal to null, then, yeah, then I set the bundle ID to this. Now, I probably want to get back my bundle ID, and that is, that's going to involve, if I need to get the bundle ID, it's going to involve clicking on the settings tab, going to the screen, getting the bundle ID, and then returning back to the main screen. So I probably want to put that all in a method. So what I'm going to do is let's add to this the go back. And we looked at that earlier. That was click on project. So that's going to be really easy to do now. So what we'll do is just do an app.click, and I'm going to pass in project. And now what I want to do is return back that string, which represents the bundle ID, back to the main method. So I'm going to make that a domain-specific function here. So I've got to pull this method out here and put that down here. And then I'm going to take this chunk of code here and refactor that and extract that to a method. But I'm kind of mixing objectives there because I'm doing assertions and verifying the text message is correct. Yeah, let's not mix that up. Let's not do that yet. I'm going to put that back up here in the setup. and then do that assertion, and then I'm going to go back to the main page right here, and yeah, so now I'm returning to the project, and then I'm going to return to the project again. So really, I could just reuse this here, but that's not really true reuse because I just copy and paste the code. So what I should do is refactor that, extract method, and I'm going to call that exit settings table view. And we'll just click OK on that. And notice that got refactored in both places because it had an exact match on that. So now I've got a method called exit settings table view. Now, just to follow along, I'm always going to make these public and static. And then I'm going to move that out. Now this one is domain specific, so I'm going to move that to the org. Okay. So now it changed these to both org.exit settings table view. That's kind of weird. Upsell using. It's got it confused as saying it's using, but it's really upsell. Save would fix that. Okay. So now I've got a nice method for getting the bundle ID. So I'm going to refactor that out and say get bundle ID. Refactor, extract method, and we'll call that get bundle ID. And it's going to return a string, but it doesn't return a string yet. And I'll make that a public public static string. And then that's going to return a string. Now it doesn't return a string, so what I have to do is put here a line that says return bundle ID. And now it satisfies that, and then I can refactor this and move that. Now that's specific to this app, so I'm going to move that, refactor, move, and I'm going to put that in org. Okay, so we've got go to setup, go to the settings table view. Then we really, I think I'm going to move that down because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense up there. And then this one is verifying things. So what else do I want to verify on this app? I could verify the version number and the build number, but every time I rebuild the app, that's going to change. I haven't found that to be really beneficial in Selenium, so I don't think I'll do that in Appium. Could get the name of the app, but I've already got the bundle ID. I can derive the app name from that. I've got other things I could try. I could click on the restored purchases. I could click on the share. I could rate our app. So I think those are some things I could test on the settings tab. Yeah, test the settings tab. So let's do that. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on rate our app. Okay, so we asserted that it had that text. Now I think I should be getting the bundle ID first. That way I have it. And I'm going to set a local variable called string bundle ID equals. And I'm going to pull in that bundle ID. So I'll get the bundle ID, then I'll go back and then I'll exit to the main screen, then I'll come back in and then start verifying this. So what I want to test. Before I exit the table view, I'm going to click on the Rate Our App. So click on Rate Our App. Verify upsell message. And then this one was identify current app. And this is typically the type of thing I do, is I put comments in here to say what I'm going to do, and then I do it. So in keeping with that, I am going to document out the rest of what this test is going to be, sort of my steps. So this is verify the settings tab. I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to create a new status report. I'm going to create a new question, and then I'm going to reorder questions. I'm going to reorder status, and then I'm going to, I'm going to exit questions, and then reorder status. Then I'm going to exit status, and then I'm going to reorder project, and then I'm going to search for a question, and then I'm going to delete a question, and then I'm going to exit question. Actually, I'm going to search for a question, and I'm going to drill down search to status, and then drill down search to question. Then I'll be on the question. Then I'm going to delete a question, and then I'm going to exit question, and then I'm going to delete status and exit status, and then I'm going to delete project. Okay, so this is just kind of an outline, and you know, if you're really formalized, you'll put those in ALM. You'll list out your steps, and if you have them steps listed out in ALM, you can just swipe them and then control copy them and then paste them right in here, and then hold down the control key and hit the command slash. It'll comment out all those steps, and then you can code that right into your code. I'm doing this on the fly, so I don't have ALM here. So now let's see. So first step is going to be create a new project. Wait, I didn't do rate an app. So let's do that. Rate an app. Oh, I forgot a few steps here. I want to rate an app. I want to share app. First I have to exit rating, app rating. Then I want to share app. Send email. That should drop me right back. And then restore purchases. That might be a little dangerous because it might change the whole behavior of the app. Maybe I'll skip that one. I'll skip that for now. And then go because I don't want to go from the free version to the paid version while I'm testing the free version, because then I'll have to delete the app and reinstall it, and yeah, that's kind of a destructive test, so we'll just skip that for now. Might have to just do that as a last test. Okay. Yeah, so we should be good now. So let's start building out some of these things. Now, this one is verify upsell message. And we could pull that out and put that in our domain-specific language. Refactor, extract method. Now, you're probably thinking, wow, this guy's just refactoring the Jesus out of this thing. So, yeah, I am. But having all these methods is helpful, because when the app fails, when the test fails, it throws a stack trace, and the stack trace is going to list out all the methods in the stack trace that were executed. And if you have a method that says checking upsell message, and you can see that at the bottom of the stack trace or top of the stack trace, and you know that, well, actually at the bottom of the stack trace, you see that listed, you'll know that that's what you're doing. Now, if your error message, and I've seen it a million times, it says /xpath not equal to /t table /tr/td/ div/a/ whatever, not found, or timeout on element, you're not going to know what that is. And it's just going to confuse you, and you're going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what failed in your test. So I think the thing to do here is to extract these out to methods. So verify settings upsell message. Actually, it's a button, but yeah. That's another test. I could click on upsell. And by app. But I'm not going to do that for now. But that's a destructive test, because I'm going to be jumped into a whole different experience, and can't continue testing on this app until I delete the app, reinstall it, and because once you buy the app, there's no way to downgrade except to delete it and then reinstall it. So don't want to really just do destructive tests. Okay, so rate our app. Now, I'm not really sure this is going to work, but we can always just remove it. So what we're going to do is click on that, and if it's consistent with everything else that we've seen, and this again is what I've got here is another QuickTime, but here's Appium Desktop. So here is the it's accessibility ID is rate our app. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to Eclipse, and what we're going to do is just click on it. So that's going to be app.click. Go for it. Okay. So that's going to click. Oh, now see, this is a space. Space is in there. Huh, don't see it. Okay, that space is in there. So I'm just curious, sometimes Chrome strips out spaces and MSIE leaves it in, and you gotta have, yeah, you just don't know. We'll see if it works. Okay, so okay, exit app rating. So that's going to, let's try it. Save it, and we'll go over to Appium Desktop, and you click on it. Let's find this thing here, and let's do a click tap. They call it a tap. See what Appium Desktop does with that. you can see what happened. It dropped me into the App Store. And yeah. Okay. Error response 10. Stale element reference, element command, failed. Oh, I should have screenshotted that. Okay. Well, it's pretty obvious we can't do that. Can't test that scenario yet in Appium Desktop. So, it's alright. All good. So nobody's going to automate doing automatic reviews in Appium anyway. Well, that really jumped out into Chrome at that point, or a separate app. So yeah, I wouldn't think you would retain control. But all good. You had to find that out. So I'm just going to switch back. Okay. Let's see if this thing is here now. So just grins and giggles, we'll comment that out. Now I held down the command key on the Mac and hit the / and that just commented that out. So that's not testable at this time. Alright, now next thing we want to do is share the app. So let's try that. So we'll go over to Appium Desktop and we're back here. So I'm going to tap on the settings button. Oh, well, we're on the settings tab. No, we're not. Well, we are. Okay. Interesting. Get these two in sync. Okay. So let's do a share. So share is this one. Okay, so it does move the cursor in Appium Desktop down. I wonder if you can resize these windows. So it's share as the element. So we could click on that. Let's see what happens if we tap on share. Launches email. No errors. Ah, so maybe we can test email. Okay, that's awesome. So let's code that. So that's going to be app.click share. Okay. Let's see what will go on. Continue on our adventure. So what do we have? An email field here. Oh, has an accessibility ID. How nice. Okay. So what we'll do is now we got to do something new. We got to enter text. Okay, so let's do that. So we've got a we're going to do. We used our find method, so let's use that. App.find, and we'll put in our thing here. And then we have a web element. Web element, we're going to call that the 2 equals. And then now we got to enter text. So that's typically send keys. So we'll do a 2.sendKeys. And I'm just going to put my email address in here. Now let's just use larry@larryricker.com. Cool. All right. And then that should enter that text. And then I have to click on the send mail. So let's do a send keys. Let's see if it works. Bam! Wow, sweet. Okay, now I'm easily amused. Okay, now we're just going to click on the send. So let's find that send button. Yeah, well, if I click here, what happens? Oh, it drills. Wow, it really drills. Okay. Close. No cigar. Somewhere in here. I'm thinking it might be, oh, navigation. Yeah, navigation. So what do we got? We got cancel. We got a title, which that can be verified. Let's have a accessibility ID. Yeah, it's equal to name of the app. Okay. And the send button. Okay, so let's just snag that. And we'll use our method to click. Yep, I got way ahead of myself. Okay. Easy peasy. Okay. So if we do that, it'll probably just shoot off an email, and then let's do that. We clear this out. Tap. Bam. Whoosh. Off to the cloud. Okay, good. All right, and then we'll just continue down. Restore purchases. We're going to skip that for now, and then we'll exit the settings tab, and then we'll go into the next part, which is create new project. Okay, so to do that, we were going to tap on project, which is right here. No. Fail to tap. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, let's get in here. That's inside. We need the navigation right here. Nope. Here, here, not really. Other, buy button. So what was this one? No, it's the send. Oh, those things are still lingering? Okay. Seems a little confused. Oh, here's project. Sweet. Tap. Okay, so we'll get back to the main screen. And now we have the add button. Now this is the one that was going to get interesting. We were going to disambiguate on add, and there was two add buttons, and we might have to rename them to disambiguate, but let's just pick one, and we'll click on it. So, oh, we forgot to click on project to exit. Oh, we did that already. Okay, so now we're going to do app.click add. Okay. Now we did a little bit of functionality here. Share app. So let's refactor that out, and we'll call that send share app. Extract method, share app from settings tab. And make that public static and move that out to our domain specific language called org. Okay. Another nice thing about this is you kind of see the flow. If I get a stack trace on sharing the app, which is all very likely, some kind of mail library didn't get, or the mail didn't get linked in properly in the app, and it didn't exist. You know, these things fail. So we'll get a message share app from settings tab. It'll be very specific. Oh, see, I did tab again. Let's call it a settings view, table view. So we can refactor that. Refactor rename. Eclipse is really nice for refactoring. If you're working in Xcode and you got to refactor, rename something, you got to go find the 35,000 places it's used and fix them all. I really miss a good refactoring tool in that tool. Okay. Now, if you got files and you're not sure if you saved them all, you can always go up here, File, Save All in Eclipse, and it just saves them all. There's a little difference from Xcode. You got to actually find every one that's grayed out and then click on it and then hit the Save button on that individual file. Little things matter. Okay, so we're going to add a project. So we're going to name the project. Yeah, forgot that part. Create new project. Name project. And when you're doing automated testing, you have to have every single step. You skip a step, I mean, you can write an ALM test and just kind of do a lot of hand waving, like say validate page is sorted, populated, and proper. You know, and that might be okay for an ALM test, but when you're doing Appium or Selenium or any type of automated test, you have to be very specific. Every step has to be covered, or else it just doesn't happen. So let's enter the name of the project. So in order to do that, go back to Appium Desktop, and we're going to hit this plus button, add, and let's see how that goes. Tap. Okay, got a new dialog here. I'm running this on tonight on an iPhone 5S, and I can see sort of a human factors thing here. The name's scrunched up, it's a little ... so it's abbreviated. Now if I tilted that sideways, actually it won't do that in Appium Automation. Interesting. There's an override to do that, and that's something else I want to be testing, is the different orientations and how they look. So yeah, so let's look at this field here. That has to have a name, right? So it's highlighting the different parts. Okay. These must be the little lines that position elements on the screen. It's kind of interesting to look at this in Appium Desktop. Other projects. Okay, we're still up there. TextField, there we go. That's the one we want to enter text in. Okay, so now we've got a inaccessible element. We did pretty good for a while. Okay, so let's get an accessibility ID on that. So I'm going to call that the project. Well, I'll figure out what I'm going to call it. Let's get into XCode. Yeah, I was going to move that around. Let's put that on desktop 4. Okay. Now you launch Xcode, and then you got to get into Interface Builder, and then we got to locate that view table. No, actually, this one's a view, and then find that field on the screen in Xcode Interface Builder, and add an accessibility ID. And as you saw in my previous videos, it's called Accessibility Identifier. It's all spelled out. Now we should make sure that we get that spelling absolutely right. I had a nice Apple page about this. Let's see if we get lucky. And this page listed out all the different elements that had accessibility identifiers. So add banners, banner views, GLK views, lots of different elements, action sheets, activity, UI view. Oh, and then there's a second column with even more stuff. So you got your labels, image views, images. But for some reason, text, well, whatever this is, let's see what this was. This is a text field. Okay, so text field doesn't seem to be one that has an accessibility identifier. So we'll add one. Okay, so don't need this down here. Let's go down to the project name screen, go in here, and do not see an accessibility identifier. Oh, there it is. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so it has the accessibility section and it has an identifier, but it doesn't automatically name it. So let's give it an identifier. So what are we going to call it? So I don't have to remember to call it accessibility identifier. I just have to fill in this field. So we are going to call this the project name. Now, is that consistent with my naming convention of this field? I guess I really don't have one. I think I do. Let's tab out of that field because XCode doesn't seem to always capture the stuff you type unless you tab out of the field. Yeah. Oh, over here. So I called this one the project name edit. Yeah, I think I should call it project name edit as the accessibility identifier just to be consistent. Yeah, help me find that one back. Oh, here it is, project name edit. Good. Save. Well, actually, saving doesn't do any good. You gotta tab out of it. Bugs, love them bugs. Okay, project name edit. Okay, we're good. So now I'm just going to build this app, progress report, switch it up here, and build it to the iPhone. Now it's running in Appium Desktop, so let's just quit that just so it doesn't have any trouble. Don't know what kind of trouble it could have, but it might have some trouble. And we can watch it over here. So it died. Love this feature. Okay. When I was installing Appium Desktop, read an article about how you had to get your developer ID key and you had to extract it out and put it in a separate key store. It was quite a little effort, and you had to attach a password to it, and then you had to put that in your JSON representative right here, like you see all this configuration, your capabilities, and that was required in order to get past some security restriction. But that must have been something iOS 9 or before, because that went away when they went to iOS 10 and had to install this Facebook app on the device in order to do Appium testing. So I don't have a reference to a key store in here, and I don't have a password in here. So hopefully you all can avoid that pain and not go through that, because I didn't include it in my videos, and it causes that password to pop up every time I go to deploy a new app. Okay, let's keep going. So now what I'm going to do is, well, let's connect to it again through Appium Desktop. Now you'll see in the, and I should have pointed it out before I hit that button, but there's a setting in here. It'll scroll by on this other screen here. It's called, reset, bundle ID, progress report. I think it's like WPA something. And if you have that set to false, it doesn't install the app when you kick off Appium Builder. So I don't want it to redeploy the one that I have in that directory, because that's not the current app. I've updated it. So I've got it currently configured to not deploy a new app. And if all goes well, when I go back to that field, it'll have an accessibility identifier. It'll be called project name edit. Now, if you have a lot of these elements to name, you might just have to hand that off to your developer, because you may not be the developer, and he'll have to go through and do this. But you can send him to my videos to try to figure out how to do it. So let's find this element, the Add button. This is in the tool bar or navigation. Well, there's one down here too. Let's try clicking on that one. It works, and it doesn't seem to have any type of problem. So let's see, that is project name TextField. Hey, it's sweet, look at it now. It's got an accessibility ID. So that was by adding the accessibility ID. That's how you got that. So as always, you copy and paste, because you want to make sure it's right. And we're going to go over to Eclipse, and then we're going to enter text into that field. But first we got to find it. So what we're going to do is do a web element, project name edit equals app.find, and we're going to put in that name. Well, that'll get us our element. Then we're going to do a we got it right in our clipboard. Dot enter send keys, and then we're going to give it a project name. And our first project name is going to be enhancements. Okay. And then we want to click on the Done button. And save it. So I think that one's going to be called Done. Almost guarantee it. Yep, bam. accessibility ID, done. I gotta hand it to Apple. They've got these accessibility IDs down on the buttons, like really nice. And I can understand why they don't have the text fields in a way, because, well, they don't have names. Although they could name it after the ID that you drag and drop in Interface Builder, but maybe that's not so easily accessible to them. Click. And done. Done and done. Okay, so what we've got here is some functionality that is domain specific to this application, and what it does is it creates a new project. So let's grab these lines and do a control refactor, extract method, and we're going to call this create new project. Now, of course, you'd have to be on the main screen for this to work in this context, but let's not get into that too much right now. So we'll have to make this public, static. Now, you notice everything I'm making public static, and some patterns Nazis are going to say to you, you should never use static methods, you shouldn't have any singletons in your application. You can mix the, if you have multiple simultaneous processes running, it's going to mix the data between the processes, and one will overwrite the data and you could end up with the wrong data. And to that, I would say for automated testing, at least in JUnit 4 and 5, I don't think that's going to be a problem because all your tests execute one after another. And it really doesn't have this thing where it paralyzes and run them simultaneously. But we could accomplish that on Jenkins if you put it on a Jenkins build server and then had different jobs running the tests simultaneously. But then they're running in separate JVMs and they wouldn't conflict. So the whole singleton argument, I don't feel it's a really strong argument for automated testing, and I would go with the static methods to make the really nice API like this. Now, I did mess that up a little bit here because what I wanted to do was extract out the project name and pass it. So as a result, what I'm going to have to do is refactor method signature, and then I'm going to add a string, and it's going to be called project name, and no default value. Oh, okay. Okay, so that is going to be enhancements. And I'm going to use as many cliche project names as possible. Just generic names that do not convey the overall purpose of the project. And, you know, let me know in the comments if I hit your project name. Okay, so we got project name coming in here, and then I just got to put project name in here because I didn't do it earlier. Okay. So now I want to do a few projects. So I'm just going to create a bunch of them right here. So it's going to be copying this line. And I'm going to have a few projects. They're going to be uplift. And let me know if I get your project name. Reskin. Search. Optimization. Metrics. Defects. Human factors. routing, automated testing, biometrics. Let's put a couple more in here. How many more do I need? Maybe 5 more. Content. Just trying to go cliche on this. Routing. Desktop. Upgrade. Integration. Okay. So that's going to just fill up the app over here with a bunch of projects. So now what we want to do is click on a project. So let's get on the Appium desktop, and then we're gonna now we're gonna click on this undo button here. Let's tap on that. And let's pretend we got an ad in here. Actually, we should run this test. Yeah, let's run it. And that'll create a bunch of projects so we can continue with our test. So let's save all. And we've got the app running right here in QuickTime Player. So you can see it running. Let's bring it over a little bit. Okay, so we're going to bring this window down a little bit. Get to our terminal. See if it's running today. Okay, let's see what our directory is. Good. Yes. I like Gradle just for dependency management. The alternative would be to use Maven build, or you could use like an AMP build or a Ivy build. But I think in terms of preferability, I would go first with Gradle, second with Maven, then consider other options like Ivy or Ant. But if you got Gradle, I would go with that because it handles the dependency management better than anything out there. And I think the build process has gotten a lot from the Android adopting Gradle as their build process. So kind of got a lot of funding or whatever to keep maintenance up and add new features. And when you do get to the level where you're doing a continuous integration and you're building on a build server with a team and you need to build out the app on the server, Gradle's going to run fine in Jenkins, and you can use your Jenkins build server to build those. Okay, that's the Facebook app. that made it flash. Okay, that looked mostly successful. Yeah, slipped my mind. Yeah, you can't do that many projects in the free version. It's limited. So, yeah, I'm going to have to enter this many projects. I'll have to save these out to execute the pro version. But, yeah. So now we got some projects in there. And, well, we could hit the continue button here and go back. That actually was a successful test. Okay, so I should, let's pick up the continue button. And I don't think it's connected right now, but let's give it a whirl. Add, send tap. Nope, error. Refresh. Oh, refresh. Okay, let's see if it reconnects. Session's been terminated. Makes sense. Oh, app was rebuilt. Okay. Yeah. So let's see. Quit. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna call this a night, and then we'll pick this up tomorrow night.